Welcome, welcome, welcome to Review Remedy. I'm Ava Dawson, and let's start with something a lot of people know too well. The moment you notice your hairline looks a little thinner, a spot on your skin looks a little different, or your scalp has decided to become the main character of your week. Suddenly, you're not casually searching for a dermatologist. You're trying to find someone you can trust, quickly, and without falling into an internet rabbit hole. Because skin stuff is weirdly emotional, right? It can be uncomfortable, visible, persistent, and somehow it always seems to flare up before a photo, a wedding, a job interview, or literally any day you wanted to feel normal. And then comes the next headache, finding a dermatology clinic you actually trust.
Yeah, and that second part can be its own skin condition. You search online, you get a wall of reviews, a bunch of star ratings, and suddenly, you're trying to decide whether one angry comment from 3 years ago should outweigh 200 positive ones from this year.
Exactly. And when you're already worried, the internet does not always calm you down. It tends to hand you 17 tabs, 3 conflicting opinions, and one very dramatic forum post at 2 in the morning.
Been there. Not the forum post part, but definitely the 17 tabs. And dermatology care matters more than people sometimes realize, because this isn't only about appearance. Dermatology focuses on conditions involving the skin, hair, and nails, and that can mean preventive care, treatment, and ongoing monitoring.
Right. Your skin affects comfort, confidence, and everyday quality of life. If you're dealing with acne, eczema, or some recurring irritation that just won't quit, getting it evaluated early can matter. Same with skin checks when something looks off. Early diagnosis is a big deal, especially when we're talking about concerns that could become more serious if ignored, including skin cancer.
And dermatology often isn't one-and-done care. It can involve follow-up visits, monitoring, trying a treatment, adjusting that treatment, checking how your skin responds. So the clinic experience matters a lot. Things like communication, scheduling, professionalism, and consistency can affect whether patients stick with care long enough to actually see progress.
That's such an important point. Sometimes people think choosing a clinic is just picking the nearest pin on the map. But if your skin concern needs ongoing visits, the right fit can shape the whole experience. Not in a magic wand way, obviously, but in a very real-life, will I go back? Will I understand the plan? Will I feel heard kind of way.
Yeah, and when patients are trying to figure that out, reviews become one signal among several, not a measure of medical competence, and it's important to say that clearly. But reviews can help show patterns in patient experience.
So today we're looking at Houston, Texas, which is one of the biggest medical hubs in the country and has a huge healthcare network serving millions of residents. With that many options, choosing a dermatology clinic can feel like trying to pick a shampoo in a giant store aisle. Too many bottles, too many promises, no idea where to begin. That's a terrible analogy. Let me try again. Houston has choice, which is great, but also a lot to sort through.
And that's where this conversation gets useful. We're talking about a recent Houston dermatology analysis that looked at patient review patterns to identify clinics that stood out. Not because we want to make this sound like an ad, but because if you're overwhelmed, a smarter starting point can save time and lower stress.
Yes, think of this episode as a shortcut through the review chaos. We'll talk about what the data looked at, which clinics rose to the top, and how to use that information in a way that's practical if you're dealing with acne treatment, a chronic rash, a skin check, or just a skin concern that has been quietly stealing your peace of mind. So here's the backbone of the Houston list. ScoreDoc analyzed 57 dermatology clinics in Houston, Texas, and focused on patient feedback from the last 24 months. That last part matters because older reviews can feel less relevant when people are researching doctors now.
Right. The evaluation looked at several signals: overall star ratings, total review volume, recent review activity, positive sentiment in written comments, and ScoreDoc reputation data from that same 2-year window. The idea is to bring together the scattered pieces patients usually have to hunt down one site at a time.
And the 5 clinics that stood out in this Houston review were Advanced Dermatology Katy, Complete Dermatology Washington Avenue, Dermatology and Laser Surgery Center, Elite Dermatology and Plastic Surgery, and Uptown Dermatology.
Let's walk through them. Advanced Dermatology. Katy had a 4.8 rating, 1,495 total reviews, 462 recent reviews, and 96.1% positive sentiment. That's one of the strongest review profiles in the group, especially when you combine high volume with a lot of recent engagement.
Then there's Complete Dermatology Washington Avenue with a 4.9 rating, 547 total reviews, 330 recent reviews, and 98% positive sentiment. That's a really strong combination too. High rating, strong positive feedback, and plenty of recent patient participation.
Dermatology and Laser Surgery Center came in with a 4.8 rating, 200 total reviews, 88 recent reviews, and 94% positive sentiment. Smaller volume than some of the others, but still a stable review presence with steady recent activity.
Elite Dermatology and Plastic Surgery also stood out in a big way. 4.9 rating, 1,403 total reviews, 392 recent reviews, and 97.5% positive sentiment. That's a lot of feedback and a lot of recent engagement, which usually tells you patients are actively sharing experiences rather than leaving a dusty trail of old reviews behind.
And then, Uptown Dermatology had a 4.8 rating, 14 total reviews, 1 recent review, and 100% positive sentiment. This one is interesting because the sentiment is excellent, but the review volume is much smaller than the larger practices, so it's a different kind of profile.
Yeah, and that's where context matters. A clinic with thousands of reviews tells you something different from a clinic with a smaller sample. Neither should be reduced to one number alone. Review count, recency, and sentiment all help paint the picture.
That's the key. A 4.8 or 4.9 by itself is helpful, sure, but when you add recent review activity and positive sentiment, you get a better sense of consistency. Are people still talking about their experience? Is the positivity recent? Is there enough volume to suggest an established pattern?
And I like that this method keeps the conversation grounded in patient experience signals. Instead of pretending reviews can tell us everything, they can't. But they can help answer practical questions patients actually care about, like, do people seem satisfied overall? Is feedback current? And is there enough of it to feel meaningful?
Also, small note, the original analysis says these clinics stood out based on available patient review data. That wording matters. It's careful, and it should be. This is about reputation patterns across review platforms, not declaring who is best in some universal sense.
Exactly. And for people who feel buried under tabs and star scores, that's where ScoreDoc becomes useful. It pulls together review information so you don't have to bounce across platform after platform trying to mentally build your own spreadsheet. Which, by the way, some of us are one stressful mole check away from doing.
And if you are doing that spreadsheet, no judgment. But yes, this can make the search process faster and a lot less fragmented.
So how should someone actually use a list like this? I'd say start with your real need. Are you looking for help with acne? Ongoing eczema or rash management? A skin check because something changed? A cosmetic consult? Different situations can change what matters most to you in a clinic experience.
For example, if you expect ongoing treatment and follow-ups, recent review activity may matter a lot because it suggests active patient engagement over time. If you're comparing two clinics with similar ratings, review volume can add context. And if written comments trend positive overall, that positive sentiment can reinforce the idea of a consistently good experience.
And communication matters. I know that sounds basic, but when you're worried about a skin issue, clear explanations can make a huge difference. Same with professionalism and scheduling. Those are exactly the kinds of experience signals patients often talk about in reviews. And they're part of what makes a clinic feel manageable instead of stressful.
I'd also encourage people to treat this list as a starting point, not the finish line. ScoreDoc itself makes that distinction. The report is designed to help identify doctors or clinics with strong overall review scores in an area, and patients are encouraged to independently verify information before making a decision.
That's a really healthy way to use it. Not "the internet has spoken, case closed," but more like, "Great, now I have a credible shortlist and I'm not starting from zero." Honestly, that alone can be a relief.
And in Houston, with 57 dermatology clinics considered in this report, narrowing down to 5 strong options based on the last 24 months of patient feedback can save people real time. That's especially helpful if your skin concern is uncomfortable, recurring, or just mentally taking up too much space. So, to recap, the 5 clinics highlighted in this Houston analysis are Advanced Dermatology, Katy, Complete Dermatology, Washington Avenue, Dermatology and Laser Surgery Center, Elite Dermatology and Plastic Surgery, and Uptown Dermatology. Each stood out for strong review performance based on recent patient feedback patterns. And the reason that matters is simple. When review information is gathered in one place, it becomes easier to compare clinics quickly and make a more confident next step. Less tab hopping, less guessing, more clarity. So if you're in Houston and looking for dermatology care, whether that's for acne, chronic skin concerns, monitoring, or just finally getting that one thing checked out, these 5 clinics offer a strong place to begin your search. Not the only factor, but a very solid starting point built from recent patient feedback. And that's really what we want on this show, to make healthcare choices feel less foggy and a little more doable. Absolutely. Thanks for hanging out with us on Review Remedy. I'm Ava Dawson. And I'm Daniel Garcia.
We'll catch you next time with more clear, practical healthcare review insights. Bye, Daniel.
Bye, Ava. Take care, everyone.